If you're looking to buy a house in the Houston area, but you want to learn more about the process of searching, finding, locating, and actually going through the contract to close of the home, then this video is going to be perfect for you. On today's video, we're going to talk about the where, the what, and the how of buying a home in the Houston area. You might be like many of the families that reach out to us from these YouTube videos. You're looking to move to Texas and maybe specifically Houston, and you want to learn more about what it's like to buy a home in this community. So our information is going to be down below. If you get value from this video and you want to reach out to us, feel free to. Honestly, it's super low pressure. Our phone number is down below. There's a link to our website where you can fill out a little link. We'd love to be able to help you and learn more about your process and how our team can best serve you whenever you're relocating to Houston. So the first and one of the most important questions that you have to ask yourself is, where in Houston do you want to live? Houston being one of the largest cities in the nation, it obviously covers a lot of area. And so kind of the sub-markets of the Houston area is the question that you need to ask. Where do you want to live within those? Is it, Katy? Is it the Woodlands? Is it Spring? Is it, Sugar Land? There's, an endless possibilities, right? Do you want to live what we call inside the loop, inside the 610 loop in Memorial or in the Heights? You want to be downtown or maybe even in Galveston? Those are, important questions to ask. And we have to know the drivers of those questions, right? Are you relocating here because of work? Where are you working? We have clients that, only want to commute, less than 30 minutes. And so we have to find an area around where they're going to be working. And that is a big geographic area for us to be able to search for homes. Is it schools, or do you want to be close to family? That's another common reason for people to move to our community, is that they're looking for, top rated schools for their kids. Do you need to be close to the airport? Are you going to be traveling? Those are important questions. We've got two main, public airports in Houston, and they're about an hour apart from one another. So if you need to be close to one, we need to, have those details ready. Is it shopping, or do you need easy access commuting? I live up in the Woodlands, and a lot of our clients, within the Woodlands need to know geographically where within the submarket where they want to live. If they're commuting downtown every day, they may need to be in a specific area. So that's our first question that we typically are asking people, are where are you searching within the greater Houston area? The next question that we ask a lot of people is what? So what are you looking for? Is it a home? Is it a townhome? Is it a condo? Do you want to be in a high rise? Do you want to be on the lake? Is it what style of home you are looking for is really important. Really kind of the two main categories that it comes down to is new construction or resale. And the second half of this video is going to be directed towards a lot of resale homes. The process of purchasing, a resale home, or one that's already been built and is now, being sold for a second or third time. And so we need to niche that down. I have clients that move here that say, hey, we've lived in our home. It was, from the 1970s, and we only want to look at new construction. Well, within those kind of, Katy or submarket areas, we have to be specific on, where builders building brand new construction homes. And so if you're open to resale homes, you may have more options and selections, but then, what style of home, what kind of upgrades has the home been through, right? The age of the roof, the foundation, those are all important questions that we have to, understand further. And those can affect, somebody's budget as well. If somebody's looking for, a townhome or something with really low maintenance, we need to know that information as well. Are you okay with mowing your lawn, or do you want to pay a homeowners association? Sometimes the less maintenance and upkeep that you do as an owner, the increased in homeowners association fee kind of comes with payoff there, right? So the style, or the what style of home are you looking for, is another really important question that you have to ask yourself. So this next part is the how. How do you buy a home in Texas? So like I said earlier in the video, people that reach out to us from out of state, from out of our city, and they want to relocate here. They want to begin that home buying process. So it's not uncommon for us to do a 30, 45-minute discovery call with you to learn and go through these questions to get a good idea of how our team can best serve you. So that's the first thing, is you want to reach out to our team or another licensed realtor in the area that can best get a feel and you for what you're looking for, right? Something cool about Houston specifically is that we have our own MLS, right? Lots of places have their own MLS, but we have our own public side of it. It's called HAR, or the Houston Association of Realtors. And you can go on HAR similar to how you can go on Zillow, but it's where the most up-to-date and accurate information is going to be. So HAR is a great, if you're sitting on your couch out of state, you can log on and start looking at homes. You can see what you can get for, $400,000, $800,000, over $1 million, what a 5-bedroom home looks like in certain communities, right? So it's a great resource that we often recommend people, begin looking at, right? On my side, I can take your criteria and send you specific homes, but it's nice to kind of have a feel for that up front. The next thing that we want you to do is actually get in contact with a lender. If you're going to be paying cash for a home, this next step does not apply for you, but that's a little bit less common. It's amazing to be able to pay home for cash. There's a lot of advantages to that, but the majority of our clients are going to be using financing. So we have some great referral partners locally, and even some that are more tech enabled that we can refer you to begin the process of figuring out how much home can you afford. Something we don't want to happen is you begin this process and fall in love with a $600,000 house, but then only be able to afford a $450,000 home, right? Something that's different about Texas compared to some other states is that our property taxes are included in our mortgage if you're escrowing everything together. And so that is viewed as a debt whenever you're able to try to look at the financing of a property. Can you afford the property tax on a yearly but really monthly basis, right? We don't have state income tax here, but we do have property tax. And so that's a factor with your income, lenders looking at that. So we want to make sure that they've vetted your job, your income, and your assets so that we can have that pre-approval letter. Because if we're going to make an offer on a home, we need that pre-approval letter. If we compare that to cash, let's say we make an offer on a home cash, the seller's going to want to know that you actually have that cash in the bank. So we're going to have to provide a proof of funds statement to do that. Likewise, with a pre-approval letter, whenever we submit an offer on a home, the seller really wants to know that you've been vetted by the lender, that you can afford the home, and that they have done, you've gone through the pre-approval process. So it's an extra stamp of approval as the seller is reviewing your offer and maybe multiple offers at the same time. I mentioned clients moving from out of state and calling us from out of state. If that applies for you, something that we like to do is what I call the discovery trip. So clients will call, they'll say, hey, Chase, we're going to be coming into town in about a month, and we want to see what we can afford for $800,000 or whatever their price point may be. So what we do is they come in, I give them some recommendations on some places to stay, some places to eat, and to have breakfast and stuff. And then I book a day of showings. So we can look in that sub-market community that you're wanting to be in. We can go and look at a variety of homes so you can get a feel for that price point. Do we need to increase it? Is that too much house for you? Do we need to decrease it, right? Is that a little too far away from amenities for you? It really lets you get boots on the ground here locally, and it's a lot of fun to do. We get to know one another. I get to get a better understanding for your preferences and really what you're looking for a house. Typically what then happens is those clients go back to their home state or back to their city, and we begin sending a lot of stuff online. So we're sending, hey, this just came on the market. We're sending you information back and forth, and we're able to get feedback. Then you may come for a, hey, we know we're going to be moving to Houston. We are coming with cash, with money to be able to, with our pre-approval letter, to be able to find the right home for us. Our goal is that you only have to move, once from where you're coming to Houston. It's hard to, move somewhere and have temporary housing and then have to find another place. Our goal is hopefully for you to be able to sell your home where you're moving from, or leave an apartment or a lease home and be able to smoothly transition, have those trucks come and just offload into your brand new house. I will say it's important, and it's an important fact to note that something you might be able to do is negotiate a lease back on your sale. If you own your home in a different state and you're moving to Houston, you may be able to negotiate a 30-day lease back as a 45-day lease back on your home, where you can actually sell your house, you get the proceeds. So now you have, cash in your hand or your down payments, your equity, And you can actually stay in your home kind of like a lease would, right, before those new buyers move in. And in that time, we're able to then secure the proper home for you, or your dream home, down here. Let's dig into the home buying process a little bit more and the steps from contract to close. So what we're going to do is, if we find the right property for you, right, it's the right house, it's the right price, it's in the right location, we'll write up an offer. We're able to do everything electronically, so even if you're out of state, this totally works perfectly. But we write up the offer, we submit it, and if the seller accepts our offer, we can negotiate back and forth. If the seller accepts our offer, then we're officially under contract. So there's two phases to purchasing a home in Texas. There's the option period, or what we call option pending, and then it goes to pending status, where you go from like dating the house to being engaged to the house to then, eventually marrying the house, which is sold. So first, we're going to talk about the option pending stage, or what we call the option period. Once you go under contract on a home, you're going to write one check that has two amounts in it, and that's negotiated in the contract. This is for earnest money and option money. So we're going to focus first on the option money in the option period. This is a negotiated amount of time. Typically, we're going to see anywhere from 7 to 10 days negotiation, a negotiated period of time of 7 to 10 days, sometimes as low as 5 or 4 days if it's a really competitive market and there's multiple offers on the home. And that allows us to do a couple things that I recommend for my clients. It allows us to, first and foremost, get an inspection on the property. So you're able to get the inspector in the home, get a full report. We're able to see any deficiencies or anything that's out of code, any problems with the house. And then we're also able to get an insurance quote on the property as well. So because Houston has, floodways and there's different elevations within Houston, we want to make sure that we know that insurance cost up front. The option period is great because it allows for what we call the unrestricted right to terminate the contract. So you're paying the option fee of, $200, $300, it depends on the price of the home, and it's negotiated dollars. And that's as compensation to the seller as an opportunity cost. They've accepted our offer, they've taken their house off the market in option pending, and they're not going to accept any other offers, and they're going steady with you, the buyer. They can't back out of the contract, only the buyer can back out of the contract. So it allows that negotiated amount of time, the 7 days, let's say, to get the inspection, do our due diligence, negotiate any repairs we may come across. Is it, so the roof needs some fixing, the faucet's not worked, this garbage disposal, can be any length. In the seller, we can negotiate those items with them. Are they gonna just fix them, hire the handyman to do that? Or are they gonna give us money in lieu of repairs? There's an endless amount of opportunity or possibilities there, but it's important to know. Once those 7 days are up, we enter the pending phase, which is where the earnest money comes in to play. Earnest money in Texas is traditionally about 1% of the price of the home. So $500,000 house is going to be $5,000. It's important to note here too that the earnest money and the option money are both credited towards you at closing. So you're writing a check for, let's use the $500,000 house as an example. So $5,000 plus $300 for the option period, $5,300 is going to go to the title company and held there throughout closing. If you terminate the contract during the option period, the $300 goes to the seller and you get your $5,000 back. If we make it all the way to closing, then you get your $5,300 credited towards you at closing. It's great. But if you terminate or walk away from the home within the end of the 7-day option period and before closing, your earnest money's at risk. So it's keeping you earnest to the seller, right? Because we've committed to a contract with them. So in this phase, we are working through buyer financing, we're working through an appraisal issues. The seller is able to make those repairs on the home. And then finally, we're able to do a final walkthrough on the property. Let's talk real quick about contingencies within the contract. So a contingency is going to be something that is going to protect you, the buyer, in being able to get you out of the contract. And the contract is contingent upon, the inspection, the financing, and the appraisal. And those are the three contingencies that we have in the Texas real estate contract, the three standard ones. The inspection contingency, the option period, the financing contingency, what we call the third-party financing addendum, and then the appraisal of the home. So the we talked about the first one, which was the inspection contingency. The second one is the buyer financing approval. It's a negotiated amount of days, typically 21 days. We're going to go back to the lender and say, hey, we got an offer accepted. And the lender's going to continue to vet through your financials, through your income and everything. They're going to continue to ask for documents. And we've got 21 days or a negotiated amount of days to be able to get that final approval from the bank, right? This is theirs in case you accidentally lose your job or you end up not being able to, you have an unexpected big expense. You're able to, get out of the contract if the lender deems you not eligible to buy the home. The third contingency is the appraisal contingency. So in the contract, it states that if the property does not appraise, then the buyer can actually terminate the contract and still get their earnest money back. But there's really four options here, four outcomes here. The first is that the buyer does exactly that. The buyer says, hey, not the house for me. I don't want to be underwater on this home. And so if it's, if it appraised for $500,000 or the home price is for $500,000 and it appraised for $450,000, that's too big of a delta for me. I don't want to purchase the home. You can terminate and get your earnest money back at that time. Option number two is that the seller would actually come down completely to that number. So they would reduce the price of the home for, $50,000 in this scenario. The third option is that you renegotiate, right? We find a middle ground for, us to come down or us to go up and the seller to come down. And the fourth option is kind of the worst option for the buyer is that, if it is a really competitive market, the buyer is actually going to pay that difference in addition to their down payment. These are all, nuances and there's a lot of details here. And so if you have questions specifically about the appraisal, gaps and addendums, reach out to us. I'd be happy to explain it a little bit more. Hopefully things have cooled off a little bit. In 2020 and 2021, it was really common to have issues with appraisals because the market was accelerating so much and the appraisers unfortunately couldn't keep up with that demand. They had to look backwards at historical data, but the market was moving so quick that their comparable sales didn't justify those high prices. So that's where the conflict came into play. Once we've met all the contingencies of the contract, we are excited because we are on the road to closing. I mentioned before that the seller has the time to be able to do all the repairs from the time that we agree upon the negotiated repairs till probably 3 days before closing typically. And so up until 3 days before closing, we're actually able to do a final walkthrough. Typically it's going to be maybe the day before closing or the day of closing. But what we like to do is go over to the home, make sure those items were repaired or fixed. We're going to get receipts and, photos and things like that from the seller, but we want to verify with our own eyes. And then we also want to make sure the condition of the property is acceptable before you move into the home, right? We want to make sure it's clean and, there's been some touch-up paint if we've negotiated those items, right? We want to make sure there's no dings in the walls or anything like that from whenever they were moving furniture. So we always want to put our eyes on the home before we go to closing. And if you have to sign remotely, we go over there. We'd be happy to FaceTime you. We've done that many times for our clients. So there's lots of ways to do this all, virtually. Then we're in the home stretch. We're going to closing. You're going to be bringing a cashier's check or you're going to wire some money. Closing on a home in Houston typically takes 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to have a notary there and we're going to be meeting at the title company. It's all very exciting and our team is super, proud of this process and excited for your family or yourself in this next step. And so I hope this information has been beneficial because we really have to, understand your wants and needs for moving to Houston. Where do you want to be? What type of home are you looking for? And then how are we going to achieve it, right? Does it need to be virtual? Does it need to be in person? So like I said before, our information is down below. Feel free to reach out to us. Lots of people do it almost daily. They either email us, they send us a DM, they shoot me a text. My personal cell phone number is down below. So feel free to call and we'd love to book a consultation with you to learn more about how we can help you relocate to Houston. Thanks so much for your time and I'll see you on the next video.